Hey YouTube folks, welcome to another video. And in today's video, as you can see on your screen, we've reached that moment we've all been waiting for, facing the final level of the chess app challenge, the champion level. Well guys, I haven't faced this level yet. As you can see, here are the previous levels I've already faced. They're marked with this little star, which people mentioned means you passed without taking back any moves, which I also didn't know. And now we've reached the champion level, which is right here at the very end. How is this going to work, guys? I imagine this level is really, really strong. And I'm going to do this fairly, so I'm going to go into options here. And for the play as white and black, I'm going to set it to alternate. So it will choose the color of the pieces for this match by itself. I don't want to mess with that because I also don't want to start as black, right? I want to have a chance to play as white too. And I'm going to click here on play and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, let's see what happens in this match. Let's click here on play. Well, I got lucky, right? I'm really happy about that. I got white pieces. So let's play against the champion level with white. I don't know exactly how the rating evaluation works, but for those who saw the previous game in this series, the Grandmaster level was really tough. The video was pretty long, right? It was 45 minutes of video, or 46, something like that. And I don't know what to expect here against this level, because I also have no idea what the rating evaluation is, but it must be really high. So without further ado, let's get straight to this final match now. Well, guys, so we got lucky with the piece colors. I'm playing with white. You can see down here, it's the champion level. The first move with white is mine, and you already know what I like to play, so I'm going to play e4 here. Look at what he's going to play, guys. He's going for a French defense. Wow. Okay, I'll play d4. He played e5. The computer is even lagging a bit. All right, I'm going to play the advanced variation here, which is a line I like to play against the French. He's using my own weapon against me. The little French. Okay, here I'll play c3, reinforcing the center. He played knight to f6. Well, I'll play knight to f3 here. Knight to f3 is on the board. Okay, he played queen to d6 against queen to d6. There are a few options, right? I can play bishop to d3, I can play a 3, which is an interesting line to play, bishop to e4. If I play a 3, he'll probably play knight to g7, right? It's a pretty common continuation. I'll play a 3 here to play b4. Oh, and he played this line where everything gets blocked, right? This is an interesting variation, to be honest. He's going to play with knight to c5 and knight to b3. Well, normally against this line, I've been playing with b3 to get the bishop out to h3. And in the future, try to play f4, f5 and try to break through here. The structure on the king side. That's exactly what I'm going to do. g3 is on the board. Let's see how he continues. He thought for a bit and played g6. Well, g6 weakens the dark squares a little, but this is also a very thematic move to strengthen the f5 point here. And now should I continue with bishop h3 the same way? Or bishop g2? I actually think bishop g2 makes more sense. I'm going to play bishop 2 to castle. And we keep going like this. He played this move, which was already expected. He wants to play knight b3. And then I think he'll continue with bishop d7 to bishop a4, some moves like that, and try to use the b3 square. And I can even continue here with, yeah, here I'll have to go with knight d2, right? I can't castle. I'll take the knight on b3, and it already starts to get complicated. So I'll play knight d2 to protect the b3 square. Okay, that's very logical, right? He wants to play knight f5. And his position is good. I'm going to castle here. Is knight f5 coming? No. Bishop d7. Well, I kind of know the plans, right? And black is going to play here. He's probably going to want to castle long. Well, this variation gives me some problems. Regarding the b3 square, because he really locks down that square, and he castles long. So white has trouble attacking on the queen's side when black castles long because I can't get rid of the pawn. I can't break through, right? b4 to advance the pawns there. And, well, how do I proceed now? Now I have to really think carefully about how to continue, right? I was thinking about playing knight to 4, to play an f4 here at some point, to try to do an f5 breakthrough there. But it's not exactly clear to me. Do it here. h3 to knight h2 and knight g4 to try to put the knight here on f6 also seems good. Queen 2. I have a serious problem developing the bishop from c1. This is a theme of the position, right? Maybe knight to h2 for h3 for knight to h2. And then knight to g4. He can also keep playing with h5 to limit my plan a bit, but then I trick him, right? If I play h3 knight 2 and he plays h5 blocking, I go back knight f3 and knight 5. It could be a little interesting. I don't know if it's too creative. After certain levels, creativity starts to have a little less room, right? Because you have to make the moves more precisely then. But knight h4 can be an interesting idea too. But knight h4 only has the idea of playing f4. And it supports the f5 square a little, although I can't use it. Rook d2 is a possibility as well. But I'm going to play h3 here anyway. h3 for knight h2 and knight g4. Okay, he played this one, which is interesting. Also expected. He allows me to play g4 here, right? He allows a pretty sneaky g4. Well, g4 bothers this knight, but I create some breaking points, right? No, but g4 and g5 seem good. It's just that I'm going to play g4, he'll bring the knight back, and then he'll play an h5 at some point, right? And then if I continue with g5, I block the dark squares too much there. So in this position, I'm going to play a knight to h2 here. Sneaky. I hope it's a bit sneaky, right? To play knight to g4. Well, knight 6 is an idea. Different. What's the idea he has with knight h6? Knight 6, I'm not sure if it's such a productive move for him. But he wanted to defend my knight 4, and I'm happy about that. It means that my plan somehow disturbed him. That's good, right? Of course, it's always good. Now the question is how to proceed. He prevented my knight g4 here. If I play knight g4, he will trade. He'll probably trade everything, right? Okay, but if I play a g4 now, I take his knight, right? Wow, g4 is a really good positional move. g4, his knight doesn't have any prospects of coming back into the game anytime soon. And he can't play an h5. Wow, g4 looks really good. g4, so that this knight can get back into the game. He's going to have to move the pawn from f7 somehow. And then I start to have some breakthrough ideas, right? Well, I'll play g4. It seems to make a lot of sense, right? g4 in this position. Of course, I still have problems here to get my knight out of d2, my bishop from c1, which is a serious problem and the main theme of the position for him. But I'm going to play a g4 here. I think this move is good, positionally speaking. He played bishop g7. Well, it's a different move too, because if he wants to castle short, this position will be very good for me. Now I feel like playing a king h1. That's a move where I take the king off his queen's diagonal so that no tactics come up here with bishop takes e5, in case I open the f-pawn at some point. For example, if I played f4, there wouldn't be any problem right now, but a bishop takes e5 tactic could come up at some point because I wouldn't be able to recapture with the d-pawn since the queen would be pinning the pawn. So a king h1 in this position would have the goal of make a move too so I can know if he's going to castle long or short, because that totally changes my plans. So I'm going to play a king h1 here. It seems like a useful move. King h1. And he played knight g8. Knight g8. He's trying to bring the knight back to e7. I'll play f4, f5 here and get into the game, right? Taking advantage of the fact that he's giving away some moves. He's got an h5, which I can see. But against this h5, I think I'll just have to push forward. Yeah, h5 could be an interesting move for him. If I play f4, let me click out here. If I play f4, and he plays h5. Trying to open the h file, which is pretty annoying. Playing 5 seems a little strange. Because then I no longer have control of the f5 square. I can never make these breaks here again. That's pretty unpleasant for my position. If he plays h5 and I play f5, he can take pawn for pawn. And then I take pawn for pawn as well. Very dangerous, right? h5. Fo5. He continues with h for g4. So I go with f for g6. If he takes on h3, I have check, right? Takes with the pawn here. But if he simply recaptures, I can take with the queen, and the position is good. Well, I'm a bit optimistic about this position here. Not too much, because the level is really strong, very tactical, right? But f4 and against h5, f5 seems pretty interesting. Of course, he can take everything here too. He can capture pawn, I capture pawn, he takes and the position is opening up. I'm going to play f4. It's on the board. Okay, and he played that. Knight e7. Knight 7 makes a lot of sense. He really doesn't mess around. And now I'm going to continue here. One possibility, which is kind of a weird move, right, is to play g5. I open up the f5 square, which is really strong for him to play. If I play g5, I open up the f5 square for him to put his knight there, and it's going to be a monster. But at the same time, I open up my d4 square to put my knight there. And after knight to d4, I'll have some knight to f6 ideas there, which gives me an option. He's going to take, of course, and I can recapture with the e-pawn, open up the e-file, and try to create some threats from there, which aren't very clear either. But I should also start putting my pieces into play. Now I would have a plan to move the knight and develop the bishop. If he plays h5 now, I have a problem. Or maybe not. I can't play f5 anymore because he reinforced that square. But I can also play and leave it with the pawn, and if he takes, I recapture with the knight, which gets interesting. Maybe a rook to b1. I'm not sure if I'm evaluating this position correctly. And evaluating the position incorrectly is a problem. Maybe rook to b1 to play knight to f3 and start bringing my pieces into play because rook to b1 protects the b2 pawn. I get out of these knight to b3 ideas here. When I move my knight, I could play knight to f3 here, calmly aiming for knight to g5. Actually, the ideal for me would be to place a knight on g3 to control the f5 square and the e5 square. It's a very interesting idea for me to place a knight on g3. I would have to maneuver my knight to f1 and then to g3, right? Then I would have to move my rook from here. Where would I move this rook to? This rook has to stay on the f-file. The move here would be rook to f2. But it doesn't really convince me because the rook is left hanging and right in the queen's line. It could be that in the future I might have some problem because of that. But that would be the move, right? Rook to f3 seems kind of counterproductive because it's a square my knight might need someday. And now? Dilemmas, right? Sometimes we have to give up something to get something else. Maybe rook to f2 after all. Or I can move the rook and then bring it back too, right? I play rook e1, which doesn't make much sense. I play knight f1, knight g3, and then rook f1 again. But then I lose 4 moves, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 moves to do this maneuver to get the knight to g3. Is it worth it? Or maybe knight to g5 would already be good. I wanted my knight on g3, to be honest. I can play knight to f3 as well. Knight from d to f3. Well, it's a bit risky. I'll play rook to f2 here. Rook to f2 or maybe knight to f1, knight to g3. But I also have to be careful here so he doesn't break my pair of black bishops, right? So I have to play rook to b1 first, right? That makes more sense. Rook to b1 first to protect the b pawn and move the rook away from the knight, from the attack of knight to e3 that he'll have when I move this knight. Rook to b1. I'm going to play rook to b1. He has some h5 moves, but I won't even care. He's going to castle long. It was short. That's dangerous for him. I was happy with that move of his. I was really happy because it was worth playing rook b1. Because now I want to play here with rook g1. Or not, right? Rook f2 as well. To strengthen f5? Now I even have ideas of sacrificing my pawn. I'm going to take the knight to g3. It's very clear. Now I can even play a g5 at some point to put the knight on f6. Wow, now this looks really good. g5, I wonder if it's too bold to just give up that square like that, right? I'm going to play rook f2. Stick to my plan. No, 2. I hope I'm not falling for any tactics. I don't think so, right? Yeah, he's really stuck in the pawn structure. He shouldn't have castled short. I think that was very risky. As a French defense player, I think he took too many risks. Here, I'm going to play my knight to f1. 2 knight g3. And now I'm going to focus on the positional play. Okay, his idea is very good because he's trying to play bishop to a4. And then he'll have some bishop to c2 moves and so on, right? No, not bishop to 2, because now my rook to 2 made a lot of sense. And it controls that square. Very good. Things are starting to work out. I'll play my knight to g3 here. And if he plays knight to b3, I'll play bishop to e3. Yeah, knight to g3 here, of course, and I'll prepare my f5. It's against that. That's an interesting move, of course. But I'll continue here with queen f3 or queen e2. And now, queen f3. I blocked some of my pieces here a bit, but I don't even know if I want to put any piece on f3, right? I don't think so. I'll play queen f3, queen f3. I keep the rook controlling the c2 square, which makes a lot of sense. We continue with this position, right? Queen f3. I don't think there's anything wrong with this move. Let's think a little bit about what's happening here. What's his threat? What does he want? Take my queen. Is he trying to play a knight to b3 maybe? Or a bishop to b3, then bishop to a2 and mess up my rook's coordination a bit. Although this rook here, look, with the monster, it protects this whole row. It protects c2. It protects the pawn for when the bishop comes to e3. I'm going to play queen to f3 here. It's on the board. What is he going to do now? He played f5. A move. Curious and dangerous, right? Can I do pawn for pawn here? I believe so, right? If I do pawn for pawn, g takes f5. If he does knight takes f5, I have knight takes... And his pawn here is under attack. The d5 pawn. Pawn takes pawn. And what if he takes with the g pawn? If he takes with the g pawn? I've got some knight 5 and stuff, but it doesn't really convince me either. Another option I have is to lock it up and play h4, h5. But I'm not sure about that move either. Well, the position is interesting. That move of his is a very risky move. I can take en passant as well. Wow, take en passant? Take on f6. No, it doesn't look very good. Because I'm going to open the file for his rook. But if I take... Let me see. And what about f6? He can take it with the rook or with the bishop. But I have a knight to g4 coming here. Really strong, right? But he's also got a knight to f5. And now? Dilemmas. What to do in this position? And pawn takes f6. Pawn takes f6, bishop takes f6. That's the most likely. I can continue with knight to d4, which doesn't have such a direct threat. It doesn't threaten anything. It doesn't convince me, to be honest. But pawn takes f5. If he plays pawn takes f5, I think that's almost the only move. I can continue with knight to h5, and I'll mobilize my pieces to the g file, play along the g file. That's what I'm going to do. I'll take here. He took with the knight. Knight takes. He's going to play rook takes. Did I make a mistake here? Maybe. I have knight 4 as well. Here I have to capture because he's threatening knight h4. I'll capture. And he'll recapture with the rook, right? I think I made some inaccuracy here. Now he's threatening g5, so he's the one attacking me, right? I could have left the position much more open. Well, the position is still good. I'm having queen g6 here. Now I'll have to reorganize my pieces again, right? Bishop e3, queen g6. Queen g6 makes sense. Knight 4 also makes sense. Although it's knight 4 to knight 3 to knight e3. Well, you have to play carefully here. I should also play h4 to play bishop h3 and put the bishop on this diagonal, which would be terrible. Well, queen g3. I'm being a bit impulsive, I think, in my move choices, right? Queen g3, I think he managed to control things well with that move. But he ended up with a long-term structural problem here, right? I can try to take advantage of that. I'm going to play a queen 3 here. Queen g3 to get out of his idea of playing g5. And against that, I'll play bishop e3. Of course, I'm not going to let him capture my pair of bishops here. Bishop e3. And now we've reached that moment. He's going to play... he played that. Good. That one. It's an interesting move. But it's also a move for someone who doesn't have many options left, right? Why did he take out the queen? He played queen to 6. He touched the b2 square here, which is well protected. I think I'm going to play rook to g1, putting the rook on the file. And I'm going to prepare an h4 bishop to 3, and my pieces are playing well. Or rook to f1. So after playing bishop to h3, I can go for an f5 there, sacrificing a few pawns. Knight to 4 is a move that will come at some point, but not now. Rook to g1. Rook to g1 makes a lot of sense. Rook to g1 is on the board. And he played a6, which is a waiting move. A completely waiting move. He's kind of getting into Zugzwang. And I was thinking about playing knight to g4 at some point, right? But there's another move that also seems very strong to me, looking at it now, which is knight to h4. Wow, that move looks really interesting. Wow, now there are a lot of good moves here. Here comes that personal moment where we have to choose the right plan for things to work out. So, there are ideas like knight to g4. There are ideas like h4 to bishop h3. There are ideas like knight f3 to knight a4 to play f5 in the future. Because with f5, there's always the theme that the pawn on d5 is hanging. That can be very interesting. If I play h4, I kind of kill the knight's plan. Although h4... Just to finish the reasoning, if I play h4, I kind of kill the plan of knight f3 and knight h4 because there will be a pawn here, right? So I have to choose my plans so that they make sense. If I play h4 now, I advance the pawn with ideas of bishop 3. He will move the rook back to f7, probably to defend the bishop, which makes sense. So I can play an h5. And my bishop keeps attacking the pawn on e6. Now if I play a knight, f3 to knight h4, I touch the g6 square. I made a sacrifice there. I threaten f5 for bishop h6 and all that. And it's hard to evaluate which one is the best, right? That's the big problem, figuring out which one is the best. And now, guys, what a dilemma. The position is good. I think white is better here because my pieces have a lot of potential for play. His bishop and the knight on b3 aren't doing much. And the bishop is controlling well. He has a rook on f5, which is decent, but it's a rook that's going to be kicked out. That's clear. His queen is controlling a few squares here, but she's also pretty much out of the game. So I have to take advantage of all that. 4 for bishop h3 and h5. Seems like the right plan, doesn't it? Honestly, it seems like the right plan. I think I'm going to play this one. Queen b6 might have some idea of, after h4 playing a queen, move to d8. Touching this pawn here. And then if I continue with bishop to h3. Rook 5. That's not clear. I have a check with bishop takes e3 king to h8 knight to f3 defends. I'll play h4 here. I hope I don't regret it. Okay, he played that. Now bishop to h3 is coming. Bishop to h3 here. He's going to play rook to f7. Okay, I touched the pawn on e6, which is very good. And now I threaten to play my h5, breaking the structure. I'm going to play h5, and if he plays pawn takes pawn, I have h5 pawn takes pawn of 5. It doesn't totally convince me. It makes sense, but it still feels like something is missing. Maybe a rook on g2 is missing here to increase the pressure on the g file. But now I have a strong one, don't I? Knight to f3, then knight to knight to g5. Wow, that looks really good. If I touch the rook, he'll have to play rook to e7 to defend here. Wow, that looks really good. Knight to f3. To knight g5. I'm even starting to have some sacrifices here. Ah, what a thing. What a dilemma. Opening dilemmas, middle game dilemmas. Move 28. Knight to f3. It has to be, right? For knight to g5, knight f3, if he plays bishop to h6, it's very risky for him. Because then I can play my h5 here. h5. If he takes with the bishop, he's playing purely on tactics here. Does this really work? Knight f3, bishop h6. Against bishop h6, he's threatening bishop f5. Okay. Makes sense. I could even play knight g5. Bishop takes, queen takes, and now I'm threatening h5 and to take everything there. He's going to play bishop h6, right? Knight f3, bishop h6. It's his move. Bishop h6. That's what he's going to do. That's his plan. So if I play h5 first, h5. If he plays pawn takes pawn. Now comes knight f3 and he's threatening h6, or is that crazy? No, it's not crazy because I have queen g6, right? Crazy. h5 or knight f3. I think I'm going to play h5 because I don't see how I continue with knight f3, bishop h6. I'm going to play h5. He has bishop takes f4, and now I have to calculate all of this, right? I'm going to play h5. If he plays pawn takes pawn, I play knight f3. And now if he continues with bishop h6. Oh no, he doesn't have bishop h6 because I'm pinning. That's the idea with h5. If he plays pawn takes pawn, I play knight f3 because now I've pinned the bishop. He no longer has bishop h6. He might, I don't know, play king 8, and I have. And I continue with knight g5. He'll have to play rook e7, kind of messing up his pieces a little, right? Knight 4 is also an idea. Knight, there are a lot of ideas, right? Knight 4 is also one I have to consider, right? Knight 4, what's the threat? Playing h5? Then he won't have pawn takes pawn because I have knight 6. There start to be some checkmate themes on g8. It's a very tactical position. I'm thinking about playing h5, to be honest. h5 and knight f3. If I play knight f3 right away, he'll go with bishop h6. I could still go with knight g5 against bishop h6. Then he's forced to give up the bishop, and I recapture with the queen. And now I'm threatening h5, which is strong. How does this work? I'm going to have to organize this better, but knight f3 also makes sense. The big problem is visualizing the end of the position. Knight f3, bishop h6, knight ge5, which is a line I haven't fully evaluated yet, right? He's going to play bishop takes ge5. I'm going to play queen takes ge5. And now I'm threatening to play h5 here. I'm threatening to play h5. His rooks are defending well. It's not clear to me yet. The position is good in all cases, but which one is better? 5 straight, pawn takes pawn, knight to f3. That's pretty risky, isn't it? But it makes sense. I'll play h5, h5, if it goes pawn takes pawn, which is almost the only move, right? I play knight f3. If he plays something like h6 to protect against my knight g5, I have queen 4 and I'll play queen takes h5. Then it will continue at some point there. h5, pawn takes pawn. I'll play h5 here. He's going to take it, right? He took it. And now I'm going to play my knight to f3 in this position. He came back urgently, and now I have the knight to g5, which is terrible. That move of his makes perfect sense. He protected the pawn. And now, what does he do if I sacrifice one more pawn, if I play f5? f5. Pawn takes pawn, and I don't have bishop h6 because the queen controls it. Engines and their tactics, right? All right. Knight 5, he's going to play rook 7. Knight g5, rook e7. Then I can go queen h4. I touch the rook. He will play h6. He keeps defending himself, but his position is very precarious. I'll play bishop e5. He still defends himself, the sneaky one, right? Wow, it's really, really, really good. Knight g5 hit the rook. Maybe he'll even give up the exchange, will he? Knight ge5, rook 7, rook 7. He won't give up the exchange because engines don't give up the exchange. Knight ge5, rook 7, rook 7. Knight ge5, rook 7, rook 7. They play h4. h6. Very good. I can also play queen 4 directly. And then the knight g5 won. Sometimes reversing the move order works really well, right? Queen h4. Got it? I don't let him play rook 7 straight, right? Queen 4. I'm going to play queen h4. Everything is under control here. Queen h4 is on the board. Okay, that makes perfect sense. I admit it. Because he doesn't want to let me play knight g5, but now rook g2 is also coming, and queen takes h5. I don't know which is better now. I think queen takes h5 is better. Queen takes h5. Maybe he'll give up the exchange at some point. Okay, rook 7. He lets me play queen takes h6, which is really strong. Wow, queen takes h6. I'm almost winning the game, right? Queen takes h6. I'm dying to make this move already. But I'm going to take a quick look. He might have some exchange sacrifice here. Queen takes h6. Because his bishop is pinned, right? Queen takes h6. And now, he played that one. He played queen to c7. Wow, this is really good. Now the guy goes and plays knight to g5 to checkmate, right? And there's bishop takes h6. Sacrifices the queen. Gives up everything in the end. Honestly, I'm thinking about playing rook to g. Thinking about playing rook to g2 here. I can also play queen to h5. Doesn't that win? Queen to h5, then knight to g5? What is he going to do? It seems pretty simple, right? It seems a little too simple. If I play rook to g2, I threaten to take the bishop, right? He'll have to play something like bishop to e8. And by the way, bishop to e8 is what he'll do if I play queen to h5. Well, here it's just a matter of calculation. If I play rook to g2, he'll play bishop to e8 so that the queen also controls the g7 square. But then I have bishop takes e6. If he takes with the rook, I'm winning. Wow, let's calculate this here because I think this is totally won. Another possibility I just thought of is queen to h4y. Because I'm threatening to play knight to e5 here. It's going to be mate. He'll have to move the bishop to defend that square. Then I win the queen, right? But if I play rook to g2 now, I threaten rook takes g7, rook to g2, he can't continue with. Rook f7 because I have the knight. g5. Oh no, I don't have the knight. g5, rook g2. He can play the rook to f7, yes. Because whenever I play the knight to g5, I'm losing the queen. Oh, but then there's mate. Oh no, but then there's mate. It's actually a beautiful mate, rook to g2. If he plays rook to f7, I can play knight to g5, knight to g5. Oh no, I don't think there's mate after all. Knight to g5, bishop takes h6, bishop takes h6, then I have knight takes e6 check. He can continue with king to e7. And I don't think there's a mate, is there? Or is there? It would be a beautiful mate, right? If there was a mate. Bishop check, he's taking it, I don't know. Maybe there isn't. Queen h4 for knight. Queen h4 for knight g5, it's not very strong. Queen 4. Queen 4. I'm even nervous because I don't want to let this position slip away. Queen 4. Queen 4. To knight g5. Queen h4. He can continue here with queen 4. How is he going to continue? I don't know. He opened an escape here. I don't know. Rook 8. To run off with the king over there. Maybe the best thing is to play then. Rook to g2 first. So that he's forced to play bishop e8. Or he can play bishop c6 as well, but no, bishop 6 gives him problems here with the e-pawn, right? Wow, rook g2. Why am I taking so long on rook g2? He might play rook f7, maybe? No, rook g2 has to be it, of course. First, rook g2, I pressed it. Now let's see how he's going to play the bishop. He played rook f7, which is pretty dangerous. And now there's no checkmate line here with the knight on g5. I even have the option to play f5 here. Knight g5, he's going to take my queen. So I have the knight on e6, rook check. There's mate here, I think, right? Of course, knight g5. I threatened queen h7. I threatened the rook. He's not forced to take it either. But I'll be winning, knight g5. But if he takes my queen, bishop takes h6. There's no mate, knight takes e6. King h7. The queen is falling there, but I don't see a mate. So it's not possible. But you can play queen to h5 now with ideas of knight to 5. Queen to 5. And if I play here with f5, which is also strong, to be honest, if he takes with the rook, I have rook takes g7. f5, if he plays pawn takes pawn, I have e6. It's not very clear. It's also pretty confusing, right? Very good. Of course, I prefer to be playing white here, obviously. How do I proceed now? It's just so good that it seems, wow, I don't see the mate thing here in front of me. That's how good it is. I think if you play queen h5, it should be good. For knight g5. Queen h5 for knight g5, or f5. Wow, f5 seems to make a lot of sense. f5 pawn takes pawn. f5 pawn takes pawn. If I play e6, he can take with bishop on e6. And that doesn't help me much, to be honest. I think I have to move my queen here so I can play knight g5, right? Queen 5. Queen 5 here. To knight g5. Queen 5 will be. Or queen 4. There are subtleties here. Queen h5, bishop e8, knight g5. Until he moves, there are some ideas of sacrifice and checkmate there. I'm going to play queen h5 here, then play knight g5, and make the simple move. Okay, he moved. Now I'm going to play knight g5. Knight 5 here. And now what does he do next? Okay, he moved the king away. He gave up the exchange, right? That makes perfect sense. I'm going to take this piece here. And we're still going to drag this game out a little longer. Of course, he was going to bring some quality at some point. I'll take it here. I don't see mate yet. There are some ideas with rook to g8 at some point, but no, if I play queen to h7, it doesn't threaten there either, right? Let's take this piece. Take this piece here. He keeps running away, and now everything is lost, right? Everything is lost. Now it's my turn. The bishop is falling here, right? I'm going to take the bishop. Take this bishop here. Run through g7. Okay, he played this one. And now comes the very strong knight. Oh, there's the bishop over here. Bishop over. Bishop to h6. If you move the king to h. There's a knight on e6 as well. Knight 6. I mean, I'm going to exchange everything. I'll go against that. I'll take the bishop here. Simplify. I have bishop takes on e6 now. If he takes with the king, there's queen to f5. That's the strong move. Bishop takes on e6. The rook is pinned. He can't take with the rook. When he takes with the king, I have queen to f5. It's checkmate, right? So bishop takes on e6, which is beautiful. He'll have to run away. And now I'm going to take here the bishop with the knight. I move the rook. He exchanged here. I'm going to take it with the rook, right? The guy isn't letting the checkmate happen, right? Okay, and now? Now you can win in a million different ways here. Queen. It would still give a draw here with the queen. I think it's a draw, isn't it? No, I don't think so either, but I'm going to play with rook g8 anyway. Queen h7, right? Queen h7. Queen h7. I think that's the fastest. Queen h7. I threatened to take here on b7. He defended. He keeps defending himself. Now I'm going to play this one. Knight. d6. I touch here the pawn on b7. He had to sacrifice, of course, right? I take this one. And now I take here. I can take it here, right? I think it's faster here. I'll take this one, putting the horse here. And against this one, we have checkmate, right? And here we have mates with tomatoes. And we beat the champion level. It was an attacking game. It was a tough game. I might have even made some inaccuracies. Look at how it shows up when you win. We beat him, the champion level. It was a very interesting game. Maybe I'll analyze it too. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you would find the analysis interesting, because maybe I didn't even choose the best moves in the attack. I was unsure about several moves and how to proceed, but his problem was that he chose the French defense. And here, there's no joking around when it comes to the French, right? Well, guys, if you liked this video and this series, leave a like. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe down below. It's really quick and easy. And see you in the next series, guys. Thanks.